Welcome back to the basement. I'm Steve Lewis. As some of you know, I was planning this week to talk about the Beach Boys in Concert album. I want to push that back to next week because late last week, I had an opportunity to speak to Michael Angeloff, whose 2000 album Here and Now is Forever, featuring Carl Wilson and Billy Hinsche, we discussed last time in Featuring Carl Wilson Part 9. I was really intrigued with this kind of mysterious release, so I contacted Michael, and I'm so glad that I did. Turns out he's a great guy and he was an absolute blast to speak with. Additionally, he said that hearing from me inspired him to complete a project he's been planning for a long time. Michael has put 55 of his recordings up on his website, including the songs from Here and Now is Forever, with Carl and Billy on the title track and Life's So Strange. You can also find 4 previously unavailable recordings featuring Billy Hinsche, Southern California, Ride That Wave, One More Wave, and On the Shoreline. With incredible generosity, Michael has put the recordings there free for everyone to enjoy. As you'll see, with his enthusiasm for music, his humor, his energy, and his general joie de vivre, it's easy to see why Billy and Carl enjoyed hanging out with him. Please enjoy. I'm here today with Michael Angeloff, whose CD, Here and Now is Forever, we discussed in episode 240, featuring Carl Wilson Part 9. It's a real pleasure to actually get to speak to you. Welcome to the show. And
pleasure's mine.
I guess we should start with how you met Billy Hinsche and Carl. I understand you met Billy before you met Carl. You met Carl through Billy, correct?
That's true. True story.
Well,
I met Billy first. Billy needed a lawyer.
Oh.
And I got a date. I have a day job. And I will tell you the truth. I went to law school with the idea that I could buy a recording studio if I had the financial wherewithal.
Oh.
I was in a band with Matt Wallace, who went on to become a multi-platinum producer of Maroon 5, Faith No More, The Replacements, et cetera, et cetera. And his dad was an airline pilot, and they had a lot of money. And his dad bought him a recording studio. Matt, he was also better than we were. He was really a dynamic player. And he took it and ran with it. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do the same damn thing. Because I'm playing in all these bars and bands. And I distinctly remember, they were great bands. I was telling myself, I maybe could be in a band this good. Why aren't they making it? And I remember they didn't have money to do anything. They couldn't put an EP together. They couldn't do an LP. They couldn't go forward. And in the end, it broke them all up. So I said, damn it, and divide a plan that I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to have my own recording studio. And by God, no one's going to stop me. So That's how I met Billy. And then Billy and I became buddies because I was doing his legal stuff. And Billy is, Carl's brother-in-law.
Right.
And the Uncle Billy's uncle to Carl's kids, Justin and Jonah. And he comes to me one day, he goes, hey man, I played your stuff for Carl and he wants to sing on it.
Wow.
And I had told him at our initial meeting that my favorite vocalist of my whole life, and it's the truth and still is, was Carl Wilson.
Yeah.
And that Carl wanted to sing on it blew my mind.
Yeah.
I'm nobody. I mean, I'm still nobody. But I was just a songwriter guy who happened to have a day job. And so Carl actually came. I got to also know Carl. We met at Utah, one of the last gigs that Carl was in. And I remember Senator Orrin Hatch was there, and it was some charitable benefit. And I remember standing in line. I'd met Carl backstage, and we'd been introduced. He was, of course, running late for his plane, and I had already been in line. So I gave him cuts. And we just started shooting the shit and having a great time. And we really connected. In the end, Carl and I became very good friends, too. I had Christmas dinner with his house. I met his mom. His mom came to my house. I went to mom's house. They're just how lucky was I? Because since I was, knee high to a doorknob, the Beach Boys had been in my life. They were the first album ever in my house. I remember my mom pulling in a 1959 turquoise with a white hardtop Plymouth Belvedere, and my brother being about 13, and I was 6, and he had Surf and Safari. And my life never been the same since. We put that thing on that turntable that would just had the speaker, and we played the grooves out of it, man. And I thought it was the greatest stuff that it ever could possibly be, and it changed my whole life.
Wow.
And again, And I didn't get to really be a star, but I got to rub shoulders and play a lot of great gigs
Oh, yeah.
and got my music into the world. And now, with your help, even getting a little bit further into the world. So
Fantastic.
anyway, yeah, Billy and I, and then Carl asked to sing on it. And I was working with a studio actually in my hometown of Hemet. And the first session, Here and Now is Forever, has Carl and Billy, this is no shit, singing in a bathroom.
Oh, yeah?
They were in a bathroom.
Good acoustics.
And they knocked it out. And then we all went out to dinner and had a great time. And then he came back out again. And unfortunately, Carl's second thing had to be postponed because he wasn't feeling well. And tragically, it was the prelude to his cancer diagnosis. And
Oh, okay.
he did come out again and he did Life So Strange. And Carl was like a kid in a candy store because he was really doing all these vocal things. I remember distinctly him saying, I'm going to do an 11th. What? Who says that? Who's going to in their head? I'm going to do an 11th. But he, and I
Wow.
literally go, Carl, have you ever considered doing this professionally? But he became just my friend. And he
Yeah.
was the most wonderful human being and just gentle and kind and thoughtful and considerate, and everything that's good about being a human being was
Yeah.
embodied by Carl Wilson. And I was so touched. Let me get real. It's the highlight of my life. And not, there's some people may have said birth of my children. Sorry. Sorry, kids. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Well,
it
most
was
people
singing with
have
Carl.
children, but don't have, and they have not recorded with Carl Wilson.
No, it's true. So anyway, Carl asked to sing on it. And I remember I showed him the background of the bridge of Here and Now is Forever. And he looked at me with a twinkle in his eye. He goes, You did it. He goes, You wrote a part. And to me, that was like the greatest compliment
Wow.
that anyone could ever pay me, as the voice of the Beach Boys is telling me I wrote a part.
Yeah.
Because I did.
Yeah.
And we got him to sing, and he and Billy did their thing in the bathroom on that first tune. But Billy and Carl did most of the second one, and it was really Carl really digging in on Life So Strange. He
Yeah.
gets that 11th. Life's so strange. And so, but he was having a blast. Me he was laughing and dancing around out there and just having a time. And it was really among the highlights of my whole existence.
I'll
Really
bet.
was.
That's fantastic. Is the acoustic version of Here and Now is Forever just a remix, or is that a different version? Is it
It's
Here and
just
Now?
a remix. I just said, do one with nothing but Carl.
Okay.
And so the engineer did, and I said, that I'm throwing it on there too.
Oh, great.
So we
Great.
did that. And
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah. Well, I mentioned in my
Take it,
review
take
of it, I was glad it was there because you could really hear Carl showcased
oh,
and
just
acoustic.
very distinctly.
Yeah.
And I still pinch myself. Yeah, that's the guy that sings Paul McCartney's favorite song.
Yeah.
Well, that's the guy that sings Good
Yeah.
Vibes. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. He was my friend.
Yeah.
But he was just Carl, and what a wonderful human being. This involves Brian. Actually, Carl doing what he did was really great, but Brian recognized me twice and knew my name, and that doesn't happen. Hi,
Yeah.
Michael. Hi, Michael.
Wow.
Oh, he knows who I am. That's Brian. Oh, it blew my mind that he remembered me. I mean, it's like he doesn't pay
Yeah.
attention to anything except the music that's going on in his head. I mean, it doesn't have room for anything else.
Sure.
But
So how'd you end up meeting Brian?
so I got to open the Roxy for Brian and everybody, and Brian Setzer and Jackson Brown and the Righteous
Oh.
Brothers and Al Jardine and all that. And I tell you what, you haven't lived till you've followed Help Me Rhonda in a sound check. Don't do it. It's just something I advise against
Yeah. Oh,
because you
wow.
can't. You're not going to do well.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay. No, it all came out great, but don't follow Help Me Rhonda
Yeah.
in a sound check. It's just anyway. I survived that, and that was great. And just to be in the Beach Boy family, and I literally feel as though I was a part of that family. And they're a great, big, beautiful group of people.
Yeah.
And the tragedy with Billy, I don't even know if you know this, he passed away, and within 6 hours of his mother passing away. Billy again got cancer too. And one of the big tragedies and losses of my life was the loss of, I call him up here, Angelo, always.
Oh yeah.
And so there was a duel. I mean, I've never been to a two-for funeral, but he
Yeah.
and his mother were buried on the same day. And it was really
Wow.
quite poignant and quite tragic. And I still
Yeah.
miss the man.
Yeah.
Billy was great, great guy. But
Yeah.
he had, he had wrestled with alcohol. But he was totally sober, stopped drinking, even stopped smoking,
Yeah.
was exercising. He was starting to do the right stuff, but that damn cancer
Yeah.
gets to you, and it's an issue. So, anyways, he's a brother that I will miss
Yeah.
until I'm no longer on earth.
Yeah.
But Billy was just a great. Billy and I were really literally like brothers. He moved to San Diego and lived two doors down from me for several years. Also, he played with Ricky Martin in A Son Remembers, a tribute to Dean Martin.
Oh
So
yeah, right.
he had another gig with Brian. So he had me fill in as his body double, basically, on a televised gig with Ricky Martin out of Palm Springs, some cable channel out of Palm
Oh yeah.
Springs. And we did Memories Are Made of This.
Oh,
Yeah,
how cool.
yeah. But you haven't lived till you've been in Dean Martin's house with Dean Martin's son and the other guys, and they are just the Rat Pack too. And those guys always trying to one up each other, funnier than hell,
I'll bet.
quick as whips, and just I felt like still the Rat Pack's still here. But we're in Dean Martin's house, and you see little Polaroid pictures of Dean Martin. And his wife Jeannie actually gave my wife and I her personal photos of Dean with the Rat Pack. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So the Beach Boys family is a big family, and it
Yeah.
extends a whole lot. I mean, Carl was with Gina Martin, who was Dean's daughter.
Right.
After he was with Annie, he
Yeah.
married Gina.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it was kind of the family that stays together kind of thing. But just an incredibly wonderful experience of my life, and it validated to me that my music was worth something. Carl wants to sing on it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was about Life So Strange. He goes, I really love that song, man. I really love it. And that's Carl. It's really funny though, too. After the Carl thing, local guys would kind of not give me a whole lot of respect as a musician. Angeloff, what are you doing here? But I'd meet someone like Blondie and like Christopher Cross or Robert Lamb. They go, oh, you sang with Carl?
Yeah.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Obviously, I've got a whole bunch of tunes out on the website, michelangeloff.com. Billy and I have recorded not only the songs that Billy sang with Carl, but four additional and different tunes, one of which we wrote together. We wrote a song called Ride That Wave that had Bobby Figueroa playing drums and singing background. And I actually got to perform within the Beach Boy All-Star Band at the Hawthorne gig, designating it as a historical site. And I played it with the
Oh,
band, and we actually played that live for about 1,000 Beach Boy fans that day.
wow.
And the
Wow.
bass player, I forget his name at this moment, because that's another hit. We need to do that one.
Oh, great.
And
Oh,
so,
how cool.
what a wonderful family.
Yeah.
I got to know Audrey, their mom, and I remember distinctly one day she goes, "These are my three angels,"
Yeah.
talking about her boys, and they
Yeah.
were. And Billy actually goes, "You know what? Dennis Wilson used to be my best friend, but now I choose you."
Wow.
And yeah, so he had me help with the music, and he interviewed me for a tribute to Dennis. And I remember he said to me, he goes, "What would you ask Dennis if he walked around the corner right now?" When we were sitting in front of my house at the beach, I go, "Let's check the surf."
All
And
right.
that's what we would have done. We would have checked the waves.
Very good.
Billy one time very exaggeratingly said I was a world-class surfer. A gross exaggeration of my capabilities as a surfer, but I do still surf. I have a place in Mexico I go to all the time
Oh,
and paddle out whenever I get a chance.
great.
So anyway, yeah, I'm a surfer too, but I am not world class. I've caught
Yeah.
some good waves, but surfing continues to be very challenging for me, but something that I absolutely adore.
Yeah. Did Billy surf?
No, I couldn't get him out there. Dennis was really the surfer, and but Billy, God, did he have stories? I mean, he was even writing a book one day. as a member of the Beach Boys, he met not only with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, but spent time with Charles Manson. Same day.
Wow.
Yeah. From Maharishi to Manson. That was the sub-chapter title.
Wow. So Billy was writing a book. Do you know if that ever?
He was, and I'm really bummed that he never finished it.
Yeah.
It was going to be called "I Got Around,"
Yeah.
and it's intimate scenes inside the Beach Boys. And again,
Yeah.
Maharishi to Manson. I mean, you're covering the whole spectrum,
Boy.
man.
Yeah. God, I
And
must have seen
playing
that.
to 1 million people in DC on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And then Billy would be in my band a lot. He'd just show up all the time, and we'd be playing shithole bars, and he didn't care. He just wanted to play music.
Yeah.
He just
Yeah.
wanted to play. And then he was a real treat. He came to some of my bigger gigs. I did a theater here in my local hometown once, and he showed up. I remember he said, "I was with Jeff Beck today, but Michael's one who's rocking right now." And it was a true story because he
Yeah.
had been with Beck earlier in the day,
Wow. That's
and we were
fantastic.
kicking it.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I've played in every shithole bar in Southern California. Played some great gigs, played some big gigs in Mexico, played the Beach Boy tribute thing in the All-Star Band. And I've really had some great times. I didn't quite become a rock star ever, but I felt like one sometimes. And when you're with Billy, you're with the king. I mean, he gets backstage anywhere, and he was really my key to being in the industry and being backstage and having fun with a lot of people. Did backstage with Brian a whole bunch, and I've continued to make music because it's just flat what I love to do.
That's great. Oh, by the way, there's a video for a song called Got Trouble on your website that is really fun and the ending is hilarious. Can you tell me something about that?
All day I was wearing a suit, I was being a lawyer, and I was saying, when you are charged with a serious crime, it is critical, and then just was a talking head lawyer lecture. And I went through subject matter after subject matter after subject matter. And we were in my recording studio when I was doing it. And at the end, I literally picked up my acoustic guitar and spit that song out. I didn't have the bridge. I had to write the bridge later. But 80% of that song just came out first take, first try. But then my buddy that owned that company got trouble, paid to have a full production video produced out of Hollywood. There's one scene that, quite frankly, I love. It's where I'm driving this car and I'm smoking a cigarette and the guitar solo comes on and my hand goes outside of the car window and I'm still driving and
Yeah,
I'm playing this lead. And to me, it's hysterical.
yeah, I love that.
Absolutely
I love
hysterical.
that too. Yeah, people really want to check that out on the site. It's a lot of fun and watch it all the way through because they don't
Oh,
miss.
you got to get to the end.
Before I forget, can you
Okay.
clarify
I
what
know exactly
Carl
what it
and
says.
Billy signed on the surfboard?
Carl Wilson, keep jamming and surfing.
Oh,
Carl.
no. Okay.
Billy wrote, Michael, you're the greatest.
Okay, it is the greatest. All
And
right.
I surfed on that surfboard. I
Did you?
really have, and I still have it. Tragically, Carl's has really faded. That was right out in front of Mission Beach. Billy lived literally 2 doors down from me, and that was the boardwalk, which was 2 houses away.
Oh,
And so I'm surfing pretty much every day and hanging with Billy and writing with Billy. Anyway, music's been really the thing that keeps me sustained and semi-sane. It's something I will pursue until I absolutely cannot do it anymore.
that's great.
And I thank you for allowing me this opportunity to spread the word that, yeah, I did exist and that Carl found me.
Yeah,
Thanks to your inspiration and having me put together a website now, it's for the world. Anybody, please download them, check them out, collect them, trade them, share them with your friends. MichaelAngeloff.com. Go check it out. It's some fun stuff.
fantastic. Thanks so much for talking to me, for sharing those memories of Carl and of Billy and everybody else. Really amazing to
My
talk to
pleasure.
you. Your love of music is just infectious and it really comes through. And I
Right on,
really
man.
appreciate you taking the time. Thanks, Michael.
The pleasure is absolutely mine. I thank you so very much.
Thanks for watching. I put a link to michaelangeloff.com in the video description. You'll want to check it out. Thanks once again, Michael, for taking part and for a great conversation. I hope you'll all join me next week for a discussion of the Beach Boys in concert. Bye.